Good to see you once again this year. Welcome back. I know I ask this every year, but I'm going to ask it again. Show of hands, how many of you is this your first damage prevention meeting? Excellent. I like to see that. Welcome. I hope all the information that we pass on to you is good information and you can use it out in the fields to stay safe and to do your job properly. For all of you that didn't raise your hand, welcome back. It's a pleasure to have you back once again, and it's good to see you. Gopher State One Call, as you may have or may not know, made a major change last year. We changed our vendor from One Call Concepts to Core Partners, and we had a pretty good year. Here's just a review of the different ticket volumes that we saw throughout the year. Total tickets we took last year was 631,000. If you want to break down those tickets, about 54% of those came through the e-ticket system. That's the online ticket taking process, and about 40% or 2,051 tickets came through the voice, and about 5% came via fax. It's about a 3% increase over 2010 with a daily high of 4,911 back in May, and a low of just a little more than 300 tickets in January. So that just gives you a quick review of the number of tickets that came through the call center last year. If you want to break it down just a little bit more, you notice that, as I said, 631,000 tickets came in total. If you want to break it down by type of ticket, you can see up there about 85% of those came in through routine, 6% were update tickets, 3% were emergencies, and about 3% were meets. And then all the other different type of tickets that we have as far as the design, the boundary surveys, the engineering pre-construction, the owner inquiry, all that made up the last 3% of the ticket, or just about 5,000 tickets. So that gives you a quick review of the number of tickets that we saw last year coming into the center. As I said, it was about a 3% increase over 2010. We're hoping that number increases here in 2012. We're hoping to have anywhere between a 4 to 6% increase over this time next year. So get out there, keep the work going, and keep calling before you dig. Keep using that e-ticket and processing the tickets electronically. Talk about how to process your tickets. There's the 3 different ways in which you can contact Gopher State One Call, as you probably all are aware. We have the internet ticket or the e-ticket that I spoke of. The telephone, we have the 651 local number as well as the 800 statewide number. And as always, we have the 3-digit dialing in 811. Keep in mind that 811, you can use that from anywhere in the state of Minnesota, and that will get Gopher State One Call as well. And if you do have a smartphone, either a Droid, a Samsung, or an iPhone, we do have a mobile phone app out there for you to be able to process your locates using that smartphone. And I'm also going to give you some information in just a little bit of another smartphone application that we're rolling out that will also make your job at the job site just a little bit easier with that smartphone. Just talk a little bit on e-ticket. Basically what it is, it allows you to process your locates from a computer from wherever you have internet access. It doesn't have to be the office. It can be your house. It could be the hotel room on the road. For some of you, it may be from the truck if you have internet in your truck. But it allows you to process that locate wherever you have internet access, and 24/7. If you want to process that locate late in the evening, you're more than welcome to do so. But what it does is it alleviates the traffic jam at the call center, that log jam every Monday morning. The more tickets we get coming in via the e-ticket, the less traffic jam we have on the phones in the morning. So if you can, by all means, let's try to use that e-ticket throughout the year. Every type of ticket that we have available to you can be done through the e-ticket system, except for emergencies. Emergencies are the only type of ticket that still has to be called in on the phone. But the nice thing about the e-ticket is you will get a email confirmation of that ticket, and on that confirmation we're going to tell you the processing time of how long that ticket's going to be take to be done. If you process your e-ticket and map it out, you're going to get a confirmation back, and on that confirmation it will tell you that your ticket will be completed in X amount of minutes. So this is basically an estimation on the volume at the call center. If you send in that e-ticket without mapping and just send in the data, the raw data, and we have to map it, again, you'll receive that email confirmation, but that processing time will be a little bit longer. So keep that in mind when you're using the e-ticket system. You do have the option to map it yourself or have the call center map it, but keep in mind that if you have the call center map it, your processing time will be a little bit longer than if you email it yourself, or I'm sorry, you map out that self. We've also added multi-point polygons or mapping on the e-ticket that allows you to draw that polygon a little bit different shape using multi-points to shape that polygon to your needs to fit the job site the best, to make sure that all utilities are captured with that polygon when you're drawing that map. A couple words about the fax program. The fax program is going to be changing for 2012 and then making a dramatic change in 2013. First off, the type of tickets that will be taken with the fax program are routine tickets only. The only type of ticket that you can do with a fax locate are routines. And it must be submitted on the Gopher State One Call fax form. No longer are we accepting pages ripped out of a notebook. No longer are we accepting pages from other people's businesses. It has to be on the fax form from the Gopher State One Call website. So if you are using the fax to process your locates, make sure that you go to gopherstateonecall.org and you print off and send in your locates on that particular form. If it doesn't come in that form, it will be sent back to you, and we won't process out that ticket. Also, one fax, one ticket. We've had a lot of people send in one fax, but on that one fax there's 20 tickets or 40 tickets. We even had one ticket come in, or one fax come in that had 80 tickets on that one fax. You can see how that could be a problem for the call center, where we receive one fax and we think that we're going to be good with the number of operators at the call center process that one fax. And then when we receive it and it's actually 80 tickets on that one, it creates a staffing problem. So one paper, one ticket. No more can you have multiple tickets on one page for that fax. And then all fax submissions must be completed. No whiteout, no scribbles, no using crayons. Make sure that they're handwritten neatly, and or better yet, type it out and then send it to us. If we cannot read that fax form, we will send it back to you and reject that ticket. There's too much of a liability risk for us if we can't read it, if we can't make sense of what you have scribbled down on that fax form to be able to process a safe ticket. So if we can't read it, we will send it back to you. And if you receive, or I'm sorry, if you request a ticket back to you, like many people do on the fax form, that ticket will be faxed back to you. We have a lot of people that refuse to use e-ticket and won't use e-ticket. They'll fax in their tickets, but when they ask for a fax back, they ask us to email it back to them. Doesn't make sense, does it? They refuse to use the email to process their locates, but yet when they want us to send their ticket back to them, they ask that we email it back to them. So if you are going to use the fax program over the next year and you want a ticket back to you, that will be faxed back to you only. And then the biggest change of the fax program, December 31st, 2012, the fax program will be eliminated completely. So as of January 1st, 2013, there will be no more fax program. The only way you'll be able to process a ticket is either through the e-ticket system or over the phones. Just a review of the different type of tickets that we take, at least the three most popular. We have the routine, or what is also referred to as normal. We also have meets, or also known as appointments, and then emergencies. As you see, the routine makes up about 85% of all the tickets that come into the call center. This is your 48-hour minimum before you can start your excavation. Keep in mind that you can call up to 14 calendar days to process that routine ticket. We've done such a good job over the last 25 years of educating waiting 48 hours or 2 business days before you dig. A lot of people wait that 48 hours or that 2 days before they are going to do their job, that they call in their locates. In reality, you can give us some lead time on those if you want to, up to 14 calendar days, up to 2 weeks. If you have a job and you know when it's going to be and where it's going to be, you don't have to wait just 48 hours. You can give us a call a week in advance, process that ticket with us, and we will send it out to the locators, and they will process and locate that job site prior to you showing up there to start your excavation. Paint and flags at the job site are good up to 14 calendar days under ideal conditions. What does that mean? Beautiful weather like today. The paint and flags will stick around for up to 14 calendar days. But if you have rain or snow in the middle of that project, you may lose some of that paint at that job site. And you can't excavate under the memory of where that paint is. You have to update that ticket, refresh that job site. Make sure that the paint and flag is visible and clean for you, your crew, and everyone at that job site, so everyone stays safe. And then the longest that you can have a routine ticket open with the call center is 6 months at a time. That's the longest that you can keep a ticket open with Gopher State One Call. Provide precise digging instructions on that ticket. Mark entire lot it is not very precise. Stay away from the mark entire lot as much as you can. Obviously, there will be some excavation projects, some jobs that you need that entire lot marked. But if you don't need that entire lot marked, don't go lazy on us. Don't go easy and just say mark entire lot. Give us good, precise marking instruction. Tell us where you're doing that excavation. Let us know exactly where that excavation is taking place so we can put that in the body of the ticket, and all the locators can get to that job site and give you the quality of locates that you're hoping and expecting when you show up at that job site to do your excavation. Meets or appointments, typically for your larger, more complicated projects that you can't explain over the phone or in that email ticket. It gives you the opportunity to meet the locators on site, walk that job site, share information about that job site, distribute maps, diagrams, sketches of that job site with those locators, and make sure that they truly understand the size and scope of that project or where you're going. Schedule locator remarks or updates. As I said, meet tickets are typically large, complicated projects where you're going to be there for an extended amount of time. This is at the opportunity where you're going to want to work with those locators at that job site and let them know the schedule of your excavation, where you're going to be, when you're going to be there, and how long you're going to be there, and where you expect locates and how you can schedule those remarks and those locates to keep up with you as you're doing your excavation at the job site. And then a documentation of the meets itself. This is your responsibility as the excavator to document what takes place at that meet. And at a minimum, this is the information that you need to collect. The date and the time, the company's and contact information, the sketch of the precise excavation area, as well as any agreed upon schedules that you have come up with the locators at that job site. There is a form on the Gopher State One Call website, as well as the Office of Pipeline Safety website, that you can simply download and print off if you want to. You can take that as a template and customize it to your company if you want to. But the main purpose of this is to make sure that you document the meets, you document who was there, what was shared, and what was agreed upon. Make sure that you do that. It is a requirement as an excavator to make sure that you do this. So make sure that you start documenting all meets and what is agreed upon at those meets. Emergency tickets, as Minnesota State statute defines emergency as a condition that poses a clear immediate danger to life, health, or significant loss of property. Gopher State One Call accepts 2 different types of emergencies. We have the immediate emergency, where the locator will be contacting you within 1 hour, and on site if he's going to locate within 3 hours. Or we have a scheduled emergency. This is a situation that doesn't need immediate attention, but it needs to be taken care of before the 48 hours of a routine locate. So you can schedule an emergency, and those locators will contact you and either meet you at that job site at the agreed upon time that you put on that ticket. So you have the immediate emergency where you need immediate attention, or a scheduled emergency where you will schedule, say, 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. the next day, and the locators will meet you or have that located for you at that time. Keep in mind, with all dangerous situations, if you have a situation that creates a dangerous condition at the job site, 911 should be called immediately, first and foremost, and then you can contact Gopher State One Call with the emergency locates and get everyone else there. But if there is a dangerous situation, make sure that that is taken care of first by contacting Gopher State One Call. And use emergencies when appropriate. They're there for a reason. Let's use them for that reason, for a dangerous situation. Do not abuse the emergency locate because you forgot to process a locate, or your boss threw some paperwork on your desk and said, I want this start tomorrow. The emergency locate is not there for scheduling or for the, oops, I forgot. Use it for what it is, for emergency situations only. Positive response, we have positive response for the locators. This is where the locators are going to share with you that it's a no conflict situation. They have 3 ways in which they can do so. They can paint at the flag saying no conflict or no or clear. They can leave transparent flags at that job site saying no conflict and with the company name or logo on it, as well as the handwritten on that flag should be the ticket number and date that corresponds with. Or the utility can clear those tickets electronically through gopherstateonecall.org. While the paint and flags are nice at the job site because it's a visual for you and you now have accountability for all utilities on your ticket, the website is a little bit invisible. So this is where you as an excavator have the opportunity to go onto Gopher State One Call and pull up your ticket and status that ticket and find out what all the locators have done at your job site. And those that have marked, more than likely, or some of them will be posting on that positive response website the search and status that they have marked, while others will put on their clear no conflict. And you can print this off. You can have accountability for all locators or locates at that job site. Talk about the new mobile phone app that you now can status your tickets from your mobile phone. You can check that status on your smartphone right at the job site using your mobile phone. So now you can pull up your ticket and see what the locators have done at that job site right on your phone. Just more ways in which we're making this mobile phone, these smartphones, a part of our business. Before you know it, we're going to have everything right in the palm of our hands, right on our phones. Also, positive response is a nice way to access a copy of that ticket. While it is not required to have a paper copy of that ticket at the job site, it is a good business practice to get into. Having that paper ticket right there with all the utilities and their phone numbers right at the job site as far as who's affected by your pending excavation. A couple other upgrades at the call center. I talked about email and the confirmation on the e-ticket with the processing times. Just finished talking about the positive response in the mobile phone app, multi-point polygon for the e-ticket, and then enhanced mapping. One of the messages that we've heard throughout the years over and over is how outdated the maps are for the particular areas. We've taken this very seriously. We've listened to you over the years, and what we are in the process of doing now is contacting every one of the counties and trying to get their GIS maps for their county as an overlay for our system at the call center. So if there are new roads and new neighborhoods, instead of waiting for the Tele-Atlas map to be upgraded each year, we now have that upgraded information from the counties right away. We currently have 48 counties that have given us their maps, and we are looking to increase that throughout 2013 by getting more and more counties through the year to give us that GIS mapping. Now, some of the counties that we've run into don't have any GIS mapping for us, but most of them are being pretty good about sharing that information with us to make that process of calling in your ticket or doing that ticket on e-ticket a lot easier, because the mapping information is updated and ready for you to process that locates with proper information on those maps. As I mentioned, we're going statewide with this. We're going to get new municipal districts. Aerial photography hopefully will be coming soon. So when you are doing those e-tickets, you'll have aerial photos to reference. We're going with the E91 numbers, as well as streets, as well as the redefined municipal districts. So we're upgrading our maps through and through to make that process a lot easier. As I mentioned, we currently have 48 counties that have given us the data. We sent out an outreach letter on December 13th, and we're just waiting to see what other counties are coming back with more information. But that should make your processing of a locate through e-ticket as well as on the phone a lot smoother, a lot more information for you. There's the colors. That shouldn't be a surprise to anyone in the room. However, we continue to use the colors as a good promotional material. You know, you all have a new GSOC handbook. In the back of that book are all the colors for you to reference if you are at the job site and you see a color that you don't recognize or you don't remember what it is. We do have those colors in the back of the book for you. As I mentioned, the 2012 GSOC books are on the table. We do have a couple extras. You also can get extras through gopherstate1call.org. Order as many books as you'd like for the staff and everyone out in the field. If you are a Facebook user, if you want to like us on Facebook, we'd love to have you as a friend. Gopher State One Call does have a Facebook page out there for everybody to keep track of what we're up to on Facebook. Also, something new that we're doing at Gopher State One Calls, we want pictures of what you're doing. Show us what you're doing. Highlight your projects. Brag about what you're up to. Show us where you're at. Show us your projects. Show us your equipment. Show us your shop. Send us as many photos as you want throughout the year, and we'll highlight those on our website, and we'll put those up on our website for everyone to see you and what you are doing across the state of Minnesota. So don't be shy. Get those photos out there and send them into a Gopher State One Call. Just to summarize real quick, 54% of you are using e-ticket. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. The rest of you, let's get going on e-ticket. Let's get the rest of you processing your locates doing that. For 2013, we hope that number will be closer to 65%. Remember, use good, precise market instructions in those tickets. Make sure that you tell us exactly where you're doing that work. We don't want to see mark entire lot. We want to see exactly where on that lot you're doing your work. Give us that good information. Use the ticket search before going to the job site or at the job site with the new mobile phone app. Check the status of your ticket. Check what utilities have marked and what have cleared your ticket. Investigate that job site for private utilities. One of the biggest problems in the industry today are private utilities. Utilities that are after the meter. The gas line to the barn, or the gas line to the pool heater, the electric line to that garage. Those won't be located by contacting Gopher State One Call. Those are deemed privately owned facilities. So make sure you do a little investigation work at your job sites to make sure that you don't run into problems with these private facilities. It is one of the biggest issues, biggest problems in today's one call world. And then, of course, should not go without being said, but remind everyone, let's dig safely out there. It's not only a logo, it's not only a phrase, it's true. Let's be safe out there. let's go home at the end of the day in one piece, your crew, your staff, everyone at the job site.
Thanks for all being here today. Once again, my name is John Wolfgram, Minnesota Office of Pipeline Safety. A lot of our stuff that we're going to be covering kind of dovetails in with what John Isley with Gopher State One Call had to share. So I'm going to try to keep talking as loud as I can. If I get too loud, we're getting a lot of feedback, so please bear with me. First off, thank you. Thank you for taking time out of your schedules to focus on safety. It's a big deal. You know, we all want to go home at night. We all want to go home and see our families, our children. So thank you for taking the time out, and thanks to your employers for you know, allowing you to be here as well. So there's three components that I'd like to discuss with all of you today, and that has to do with all of our duties. So first off, I'd like to see how many locators we have in the house here today. So raise your hand if you're a locator. Okay. Raise your hand if you're an excavator. Okay. Raise your hand if you're a municipality. Okay. What else do we have out there? Engineers, raise hands. Okay. Any manufacturers, anything like that out today? Okay, I'll move on. So basically, we have three key items that I'm going to discuss today. One is for the excavators. Your duty as an excavator, defined by Minnesota state law and just, you know, common sense safety excavation practices. Number two is the responsibilities of the facility operator or the utility operator. And three, the MinOps duties, Minnesota Office of Pipeline Safety. What's our job? What are we here for? And aside from this little book here, we also deal with the Code of Federal Regulations on the pipeline side. So that's not what we're here to discuss today. As an engineer, I like to make things simple. And I like to think of my job as 4 components. I inspect, I investigate, I enforce, and I educate. And that's my job today. So rather than enforcing, we like to educate. So we really, you know, welcome the opportunity to come out and talk with you all today, answer questions, and hopefully clarify some things that you may have questions on. So as the video alluded to, Minnesota is full of pipelines, especially the big pipelines. We have a pretty amazing network of pipelines going crisscrossing all over the place throughout our state. When we're talking big pipelines, you know, the liquid pipelines, the natural gas transmission pipelines, we have over 10,000 miles of those pipelines, which is pretty amazing. These pipelines can be up to 48 inches in diameter and can operate up in excess of 1,900 PSI. So the gas or the liquid is just racing through our state. So now we're going to kind of talk on the distribution side. So all the pipelines that, you know, bring gas to our homes, heat our water, help us cook our food. We have about 52,000 miles of that pipeline going through all of our cities and towns. This graph here is kind of showing damages per every 1,000 locates. So you can see that over time, the excavators and the facility operators have done an excellent job of chipping these damages down. The damages that we see here are both gas and electric, but we still have work to do. Now if we look at this on a national level, there's one key point that I'd like to you know, make about this graph here. It's kind of hard for you to read in the back, but the red part of the pie is 32%. 32% of damages are due to having no excavation ticket at all. So that's a pretty easy way to get rid of a lot of damages, would be just to call in and get a locate ticket. So it takes a little bit of planning on the forefront of your job, but you can really save yourself a lot of time and headaches by not hitting something. And then the other two, the green piece and the blue piece, are kind of talking about the teamwork that we have. There's responsibilities of the excavator and responsibility of the facility operator. So both have a play in that piece of the pie to keep the excavation damages down. So the first part, raise your hand again if you're an excavator. Okay, this part of the presentation pertains to you. But first off, I'd like to talk a little bit about excavation. So under Minnesota state law currently, excavation is defined as a mechanical or machine-powered process of digging. So it could be a horizontal directional drill, it could be an auger, it could be a trencher, it could be a backhoe. But the shovel and the form pins that we see plugged into the ground there, those are not currently considered means of excavation. But within my first year of working at Pipeline Safety, I've seen both a shovel and I've seen a form pin go into a gas line a causing evacuations of homes, causing emergency response to be dispatched to the site of where that gas was leaking. So in 2014, Minnesota Office of Pipeline Safety is proposing a statute change. And that would be to include any type of excavation that could possibly damage an underground facility. I know my stats are kind of hard to read here, but 19% of gas damages that we've reviewed have been a result of shovels. So sticking a shovel down on the ground and cutting a service line, or basically snapping off a main, maybe a service tee, something like that. And then 24% of communication damages were due to a shovel. So basically, by having this statute change in place, we would be ensuring that a locate ticket would be called before that type of excavation would take place. So helps you to not dig blindly. So we'll be having a series of public meetings. We've had a few so far. And as we're out talking with the public and talking with all the different constituents, we appreciate your feedback. So if you have some things that you'd like to bring to my attention after the fact, or after we're done here today, I'd appreciate that. Bear in mind that we would keep things like hand digging and locating. Obviously a utility operator might have to go get a shovel to help you find the utility, and that would be exempt, of course, from the statute. We want to try to make the statute as common sense, but we want to definitely focus on the risk that's there by putting a shovel into the ground and possibly hitting an electric service. So as the excavator, your first duty is call 811, call Gopher State, or go on to Gopher State's One Call, their website, and get your locate ticket. Not having a locate ticket can result in a lot of damage. We've had a lot of tiling incidents as of late that have been a result of the excavation company or the tiling company not having a locate ticket. They haul their machine out there, they're going through all the prep of mobilizing their equipment, getting the job, but they're failing to get a locate ticket. And then we have incidents like this. This is the plumber incident that happened a couple of years ago, quite a few years ago actually. You can see this burned up this guy's tractor just by not calling and getting a locate ticket. He plowed right into a line and torched his tractor. Here we have a little plowing job in a city. As you can see, that this torched up the little walk behind plow just by not getting a locate ticket. So that failure to make that one simple call has resulted in a ruined piece of equipment, and it's also resulted in dispatching of emergency response personnel, and it's also caused possible utility outages to the home that we're looking at, and maybe the one across the street. So it's a big deal. And then we move on to bigger ones. So we have another tiling job here, where they got the big tile plow, they're going across the field putting in some drain tile, and they hit a 6-inch natural gas pipeline. As you can see in this one, it looks like everybody made it out, and basically the gas is leaking. There was no ignition. However, that failure to make that one call shut the supply of gas off to 3 towns. So pretty big inconvenience for all those people just because the excavator didn't feel like he needed to call and get the locate ticket. So as John alluded to, before you dig, you have to call at least 2 days before you dig. So call 2 days ahead, file your locate ticket. Your ticket is valid for 14 days. So basically from the start date indicated on your ticket, you have 14 days to complete your work. You can make arrangements to continue that duration of your ticket out to 6 months. Then you as the operator, or I guess would be the excavator, the onus is on you to go through and coordinate refresh marks. And if you're going to be working on a paving project, perhaps you've milled up all the pavement. Now you're going to go down and pull off the sewer. Obviously, if you've milled pavement, you've taken all the locate marks off. So you have to make sure that if you're removing marks, you have to make sure that those marks get refreshed. So when you're calling in your ticket, when you're calling Gopher State One Call, or when you're going on their website, you need to have precise marking instructions on your ticket. So you need to give a great, picture of where exactly you're working to the locators. If you're going to be digging on the southwest corner of the lot, indicate that. Don't just say mark entire lot. State law, and I guess in addition to having the precise location noted on your ticket, you're also supposed to indicate the area that you're digging with white marks on your job site. So that would be a circle of white paint. That would be installing white flags. You know, say you're installing a new communication fiber or something down a road ditch. You can't just say, you know, mark the whole road ditch and I'm going to install my fiber here. You need to go out before you start your project, and you need to white flag and mark that area. So give the locator a clear, concise idea of where you're excavating. And that's kind of what I was talking about here. So obviously, if you're going to dig on that road in the woods, you want to give the locator an idea of where in the woods you're digging. It's a huge area. You know, obviously that person could walk around for days just locating things. But if you give precise marking instructions on your ticket and you go out and white flag your route, it's a no-brainer of where you're working. So the excavator is doing a great job of communicating with the locator. John also talked a little bit about meets. So you might want to call in and schedule a meet to provide a little bit more clarity to your project. Say you're working in a large section of a city. The meet allows you to work on an agreed schedule between you, the excavator, and the utility locator. Say you're going to be installing, you know, back to that communication fiber job. Say you have 25 miles of road that you're going to be working on. Obviously, maybe in the first 2 days of your job, you're not going to ace out all 25 miles. So it'd be a good idea to call a meet, and that way you can work with all the utility operators and say, well, I think our crews, we can do about 5 miles a day. So I don't think that you need to have the whole 25 miles located, you know, before that 48-hour start window. So basically that allows you to kind of, offline of Gopher State, you know, work together to create a reasonable schedule that works for both of you. But a big component of having a meet is documenting that meet. So that way you can have none of that he said, she said kind of thing. If you're the excavator, you're calling the meet, you come up with an agreed upon schedule, i.e. that we're going to drill in, you know, 5 miles of cable a day. You need to document that. And we have an example of this kind of documentation on our website. So that's something that you go through, you know, say that I met with all these utility operators. We agreed on a schedule that, you know, we'll be starting next Tuesday, and each day I can go through and I can run my crew about 5 miles a day or whatever, you know, is reasonable for that job. Have all the utility operators sign that, and that's your documentation. That way, if you run into a problem where, hey, utility operator, you didn't get my next 5 miles, we agreed on that. You're not holding up to your end of the bargain. That's when you can give pipeline safety a call. I'll call the utility operator and ask them why they didn't hold up to their end of the bargain, because the utility operator signed off on that agreement. And vice versa. I also encourage the utility operator, if you can get a copy of that meet documentation, keep that in your files as well. So just kind of, you know, cover everybody's bases and keep everybody honest. As the excavator, there's that little section on your ticket that has your contact info. It might be, you know, the person out on site might be the foreman. It has to be somebody on site that if the utility operator has to call, they have a readily available means of contacting that person. Say something happened where they were unable to locate a certain section of pipeline. They need to be able to call you and tell you that, hey, there's 500 feet of line out there that we were unable to locate. We're having a vac truck come out there and we're going to dig it up. They need that contact information so they can get a hold of you. So, and that's also nice for, I guess, any reason. You know, maybe it's, you know, a couple of utility operators, you know, I guess as far as your meet would be concerned, if they can't make that meet, they might try to make, you know, a way to reschedule with you. Okay, so now you've gone through, you've called in your ticket, you've been precise with your marking instructions, you've white flagged your route, so the locator knew exactly where you're working. So you can see we got, maybe you can't see for those of you way back there, but we got some yellow paint out there, so the gas company's been out there. We got some red paint out there, so electric has been out there. Now you as the excavator, you have the duty to protect those marks. And you need to ensure that there are marks there. Perhaps, you know, we were calling in this job in the wintertime, and within the 48-hour window that the operator had to mark those facilities, it snowed. When the utility operator went out there, there was red paint or there was yellow paint, you know, something indicating that the lines are here. And then maybe it snowed. You go out to the job site and maybe you see some flags poking up, but you don't see any paint. to dig, you have to have marks to dig. So you need to ensure that, if the marks are missing, back to the example with the pavement, if you've milled up the pavement, you need to have those marks replaced on the subgrade. You need to make sure you have marks so you know where you can find those utilities so you can continue your project. So now you're preserving your marks, you've called in your ticket, you're being precise, you're doing everything you can do to communicate. Excellent job. Now you can start digging. But now there's a couple more pieces that you have to keep in mind. Now we're going to talk about excavation safety, and we're going to talk about hand digging and finding the utility. The utility operator has the responsibility of approximately locating where that facility is. You as the excavator have to basically determine the precise location of where that facility is. So that requires you to hand dig, and that requires you to pothole. You need to pothole as often as you need to, based on your experience with your equipment and based on the knowledge that you have about that area to know exactly where your bore head is when you're digging. I saw an instance this last summer where they were paralleling a gas line, and let's say they were on the east side, they were paralleling, and they were potholing occasionally. And then somehow the bore head crossed underneath the pipeline, so it moved westward, and then it crisscrossed and went back to the east, and the bore head threaded right down into the pipe. So just because there wasn't enough potholing going on. So taking those extra steps, I know it's a lot of extra work to get out the vac truck and start finding where your bore head is, but it took a lot of time for the gas company, the fire department, and everybody to come out and clean up that mess. And the fact that you had all that bore mud and all that water going down into the pipeline, they basically had to cut the pipeline out and put in a new section. So a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of headaches. Bear in mind that when you're looking down at the ground, you're kind of seeing only a 2D picture of where the facility is. When you look on the ground, you see that, you see a yellow line, you just know that there's a gas line. It doesn't give you any idea of how deep that line is. As you can see, sorry for the small picture and the small screen, but we have a little service that's coming off of that gas main there, and it's kind of shooting up at an angle. If you were to see the paint for that on the ground, you'd just see a yellow line. So this is where hand digging comes into play. If you're going to cross that facility, or if you're going to directional drill underneath it or over it, that's when you need to find exactly where that facility is. Otherwise, there's a good chance you can ace it out. So you have to keep in mind that things move vertically. And you also have to keep in mind that things move horizontally. Not everything is put in a nice, precise, crisscrossed manner where everything is perpendicular. Things curve. Things have to be installed where they might be going up, around, or over other utilities. So that can't more than stress the importance of hand digging and finding out exactly where that utility is. So here's kind of a real life example. This is really similar to a lot of neighborhoods that you might see around here in St. Paul. There's a good chance that there's a gas main, maybe running in the boulevard, or there's a sewer lateral running in the boulevard. And then we have all the little services that are shooting from the main up that little hill to the house. So there's a good chance that not everything is working on the same elevation. You might have the main, down running flat along the boulevard, but the little service line that goes up there is shooting at an angle. It might be curving, it might be going all sorts of places. And say you're coming in, you want to, horizontal directional drill in a new, fiber, or you want to put something in. You're going to run it right underneath that sidewalk. Now you're going to ask the question of, well, do I have to bust that sidewalk up? It's going to be a lot of extra cost. I have to have the concrete people come out and pour a new, section of sidewalk. Well, this person that, did this job said, no, I don't want to replace the sidewalk. So I'm going to try to basically dig my little pothole off to the side. And this is kind of what happened. And I'm going to move away from the mic. So you can see here that we have kind of those utility marks going across the sidewalk. Here we have our pothole that's basically kind of up in here off to the side of the sidewalk, so they didn't have to remove that sidewalk panel. Here's our drill stem, and the drill stem went right through the gas line because they didn't know exactly where that service line was at. So the failure to remove that little chunk of sidewalk, oops, I guess I'm missing a picture there. Basically, the next scene that we see is the gas company coming out, and we see the fire department coming out, just because that piece of concrete wasn't moved. So now we have an emergency situation on our hands where the gas flow has to be pinched off, and the fire department has to come out to make sure that everybody's safe. And we have to check to make sure that there's no gas migrating into a sewer or there's no gas migrating into a house. So even that little bit, that 1 foot of being off, is too far in this instance. So now we're going to talk about the big facilities. So the typical hand dig that most of you know about is you dig 2 feet on each side of the facility, 2 feet on each side of that yellow mark or on that red mark. But when you get to facilities that are over 8 inches in diameter or 8 inches in width, you have to include the width of that facility, which should be indicated by the utility operator on your locate on the paint. So in this instance here, pretty simple math. We have a 36-inch diameter pipe. We need to include that 3 feet in our hand dig zone. So we need to basically dig 2 feet from the edge of that facility each way, so you can determine where it is. Here's another hand digging, or a lack of hand digging episode. So we have the yellow paint that you see down in the lower right hand corner. And basically keep in mind that those locate marks are approximate. So the person, yep. So he thought he could just basically go right next to that utility and run the plow. So you need to hand dig, determine where that facility is, then you can plow. And then you need to hand dig adequately enough so you always know where that facility is. So you've done your best to stay safe. I'll say that again. You called in your ticket, you're doing your hand digging, you're being precise, you're communicating, and something goes awry. Maybe there was a service or something that didn't get marked. Something happened. You hit a gas line. First, you need to call 911. Basically, you need to get everybody out of the way. You as the excavator, you need to make the area safe until emergency responders get there. So if that means closing off a road, if that means knocking on a house to get somebody out of the house, you need to do that. You need to call 911. Then you need to call your gas company. How many of you keep your excavation ticket with you in your backhoe or in your pickup? Okay, we have a couple. I always tell everybody to try to keep that ticket with you at all times. If you have a crew on site, make sure they have that ticket. That ticket doesn't do any good if the person that called it in the office has it. If you look at the very bottom of that ticket, it has all the contact information for all the utility operators, and it'll have the number for that gas company. So if you don't have that ticket, you might be kind of scrambling around, well, I wonder who the gas company is. It's either this company or that company. I'm going to maybe have to make 2 phone calls. But if you have that ticket, you can call in right on the number that's on there. There's an emergency number that's on the ticket. So always have that ticket with you. You need to keep people away, as I said. You need to stay upwind of the leak. Obviously, gas is lighter than air. In the instance of natural gas, so it's going to come up and it's going to blow. You need to keep ignition sources away. Obviously, you don't want to have a smoke, or you don't want to make a phone call right by the blowing gas. Get yourself out of there, then make the phone call. And do not attempt to repair it. I've had people ask me, well, if it's a little service line, I can quick, if I hit it, I can quick jump down there, I can squeeze the line off and tape it shut. And you can see we have maybe a couple of those back there at Centerpoint's booth, where people have tried to make repairs themselves. But every time that that plastic pipe is manipulated, it's kind of like taking, the balloon as a kid and rubbing it on your hair. You build up that static and then it sticks. But remember that static, it's a voltage. So when you start manipulating that plastic pipe, you could potentially develop a charge and you could potentially ignite the gas. So let the gas blow and let the gas company deal with it. They have tools and training so they can, squeeze that line off safely. It has to be done within the 48 hours. Just because you think that the job is too big, or you don't like the job, or you don't like that excavator, that doesn't mean that you can push it off or blow it off. It has to be done within the 48 hours. as the locator, as the operator of the utility, you can't simply leave a voicemail or send an email to the excavator saying, well, I don't have it done. I'm gonna get it done, so don't dig. That does not constitute as an agreement between you and the excavator. If you want to try to make that phone call and make a reasonable agreement, document that agreement. And it has to be between the two of you. You know, it's a two-way street. So, you know, everybody has their job to do. The excavator has done their job by calling and getting the ticket. They've done their job by marking out their route. So now it's your turn to do your part. So as John spoke about a little bit, the operator has a duty, if they don't have any conflict with where you're digging, they have to either, you know, mark with paint in your excavation area that there is no conflict. They might use a clear flag indicating that, you know, the electric company has no facilities here. Or they might go on to Gopher State One Call's website and say no conflict. But now as the excavator, if you're out there, if you're not seeing any paint or if you're not seeing any marks, you can't just assume that you can dig. You have to verify that you know, maybe that utility operator notified the one call center. You need to verify, and you need to make sure that the utility operator cleared the site. So for that instance that they're notifying the, I guess, let me start up again. In that instance that the utility operator is notifying the one call center that they have no conflict, you as the excavator would have to follow through and verify that. The operator's duty for meets. So the excavator's called in their meet. You know, they've worked to schedule something. They have all their ducks in a row. You as the utility operator need to do your part, you know, to try to, you know, fit this into your schedule. And if it's not working, try to get a hold of the excavator and see if you can reschedule. Location of abandoned facilities. How many excavators have seen the little A with the circle around it? Maybe so, maybe not. Okay, well, when you see that, that means there's an abandoned facility there. The utility operator is either required to mark that facility, you know, with paint. They'll usually put that A with a circle indicating it's an abandoned facility, or they'll provide you with maps or other documentation to say, you know, hey, we have an old sewer system out there. Here's the maps. It's unlocatable, but we have the maps to show you. So they can go through and deal with those abandoned facilities either way. So a little bit about emergency response tickets. You know, say you've gone through and there's a sewer or there's, you know, a gas line or something that was hit. They need an emergency ticket to dig that up. Emergency tickets aren't for, the one case that I remember when I started was there was a couple that was having a wedding on a Saturday, and you know, they called up the party people, you know, to get the big white tent put up for their wedding. But the tent company, they wanted a locate ticket so they could go and use their pneumatic pile driver or whatever. So they called in an emergency locate. So, oh, we got this wedding on Saturday and it's an emergency. We need to have these stakes put in today. So we need to locate today. So bear that in mind when you call on an emergency ticket. Periodically we'll go on Gopher State's website and troll for emergency tickets to make sure people are using it correctly. So as the utility operator, I have a little bit more of them, then we'll wrap up here. So contact the excavator within 1 hour, basically to say, yep, we're on our way out there. You have to have the facilities marked within 3 hours. You know, bear in mind, this is the immediate response type of emergency. Unless, you know, you can sit down with the excavator and you could agree upon a different schedule. All right, I'm going to conclude here with kind of our responsibilities. We've talked about the excavator. We've talked about the utility operator. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about MinOps. So a couple photos here. So say you're the utility operator and you have an excavator that, you know, keeps hitting your line. Or say you're the excavator and you have a utility operator that is always late on their locates. That's when you can give us a call. Go to page 87 in your book, find the phone number, and give us a call. We'll go out there and we'll take some photos. We might ask you to take some photos. How many people have a cell phone? You got a camera, right? Most of you have a camera, so that's an excellent way to communicate. If you do have, you know, a hit, or if you have, you know, some kind of damage, or if you have, you know, say you went out, you know, for the start time on your ticket and there was no paint. Take your cell phone and snap a photo. That way you can send it to me via email. That way I know that, okay, well, I have this date stamped photo Or I got this photo from the excavator saying that there was no paint out there. Why didn't you mark it? So basically anything you can do to document helps me, and then I can go out and then I can find more information on my own or any of our other inspectors. So a little bit about excavation leak reporting. So basically as of December 1st, 2011, all the gas utility operators are required by our office to basically report those gas releases to us. So if an excavator is hitting a line, or if there's I guess some instance where a line gets damaged, we're requiring them to report that. And then after we see that, say it's an excavation related hit, we're going to do an investigation on that hit, see why that happened. And then if there's any enforcement actions pertaining to that hit, all that stuff's going to go on our website. So if it's the utility operator not going through and providing locates, if I'm going to send that company a warning letter, that's going to show up on our website. If there's an excavator that I need to send a warning letter or a fine to for hitting the gas line, that's going to go on our website. So that's new as of 2011. And just an effort to be transparent. The public wants to see us be transparent with everything that we do. So hence having everything on the website. A little bit about reporting damages. Kind of back to Centerpoint's little booth there. They had a couple instances where there was a hit on a gas line and the excavator wanted to go through and fix it and bury it. So if you've done that, now you've committed a misdemeanor. And that's where the police or law enforcement comes involved. So basically that's a criminal charge against the person that's doing that. Going through and hitting something, even if you hit like a large steel pipeline and maybe you've knocked off some coating, or maybe you've severed a little gas line, it's all the same. If you do hit something, if you do damage something, you have to call the utility operator. Leaving those, go ahead.
When they pressure test those things that blow up then, like
Well, if there was
or they run a smart pig through it?
it can definitely affect the integrity of the line. So like that picture that we see there, there's a gouge from a backhoe that's knocked off the coating, and now we've created a great spot for that pipeline to corrode. And after things corrode, the wall gets thinner and thinner on the pipe, and then we can have a leak. And that leak can maybe be out in the middle of a farm field, or maybe it can be out in front of somebody's house, or it can be out in front of your kid's house. So you need to report those right away. That way they can get repaired and they can be monitored to make sure that the integrity of the pipe remains. So, and that's kind of what we're talking about here. Why would you want to report that? Why does it matter? Basically, anytime that you've damaged the pipeline, you've affected the integrity of the pipeline. And even maybe just snapping that tracer wire and burying it, now you've lost the ability to locate that pipeline for the next excavator that's coming to dig, and maybe he hits it because it wasn't located. So, like I said, we encourage communication from all of you. If you ever have any questions or concerns, something's giving you a headache, something's giving you a heartache, give our office a call. Go to page 87 on your book. Communication is essential. Between you as the excavator and you as the operator, you need to communicate to get your job done efficiently and safely. So this kind of talks a little bit about our website. That's where you can find that meet documentation and find other information about our office.